Good morning, fourth grade. We are looking at Colonial America. So this is our fourth lesson in Colonial America. Today's lesson, we are going to focus on readers learn new content from a variety of texts, and you, the student, will analyze and evaluate information from a variety of sources and perspectives. Notice I underlined perspectives right here. I want you to pay special attention to that word because it's pretty much a vocabulary word. We're talking about perspectives. We're thinking about someone else's point of view. So your perspective might be completely different than your dog's perspective or your mom's perspective, and you may have different opinions. So when we're talking perspective, we're definitely talking about some opinions put into place. So we're looking at different sources, different perspectives, or points of view. Our lesson today is researching using a variety of sources. So we have been reading about Colonial America. Like I said, fourth lesson today, we're looking at different parts of Colonial America, different interesting aspects of it, historical points, things that we need to know that really affected how we live today. So we've looked at a variety of sources, different books, articles. Yesterday, you looked at, let me get the book. You looked at The Real Story of Government and Politics of Colonial America. You read through this, and we're not going to read through it today, but I just want to remind you of one part you read yesterday, which was the Boston Tea Party. And you learned how the Boston Tea Party, people were tired of being taxed. They took the tea, they threw it over the boat. It caused a really big problem, especially for people who were on different sides. So the perspective of the person we're going to read today, her family's a Tory. Now, Tory is another vocabulary word. I'm going to write it right here, T-O-R. Why? If you were a Tory, it meant you were loyal to England. So they came from England on the boat. They got here. They're like, ooh, we love our new world, but I'm still dedicated to my king. My king is in England. I follow him. He's my leader. Different than some of the others. Neighbor against neighbor kind of happened here because some people stayed loyal to the king. Some people were like, oh, you know what? We need a new America, and the king is taxing us too much. So this is from the perspective of a Tory, so someone who, oh, king, we're going to follow you. So we are going to read today Katie's Trunk. And I'm guessing you've already figured out that Katie is the perspective we are looking at. This is by Ron Himmler, and it's a historical fiction book that takes place right after that whole Boston Tea Party. So right after some of the loyalists, the people who wanted a new America, said, ooh, we don't like these taxes. We're going to get rid of all of this. This happens right after. And there's a lot of tension between neighbors and people who are joining different sides, people who used to be friends, maybe even family, and they're disagreeing about what's happening right now. So we have Katie's Trunk by Ann Turner, illustrations by Ron Himmler. When I'd been bad all day long, hiding Hattie's doll under the sofa and never telling where it went, Mama sighed and said, I should sit you down to sew long seams all day and get the goodness straight inside. What is wrong with you, Katie? Mom's not happy with her. I don't know what she did, but Mom's not happy. I couldn't tell it with a name. We're on this page here. Though I felt it inside, the way a horse knows a storm is near. I could feel the itchiness in the air, the wind bringing cold, the clouds tumbling over the trees, bringing rain, a sour rain. The author's doing a great job of kind of describing the feelings. Cloudy, moody, rain, clouds tumbling, really great visuals in there. Must be, Mama sighed and sat down to tea. Must be all this trouble and fighting. Why, it makes me skittish as a newborn calf. All this marching and talking. Those letters your pa speaks of. That tea they dumped in the harbor. Mom doesn't like the tea that got dumped in the harbor. That tells you right away kind of what side they're on. Mama's hands shook. So we know she's upset. The author didn't say Mama was upset. Her hands shook. They're giving us that visual. Oh, her hands are shaking because she's so upset. Mama's hands shook. Tea in the harbor, wasting God's good food. Brother Walter said, that That's not the least of it. It'll get worse. She peered at him. How could it get worse, Walter? Then she shut her lips on the words. Already we had lost friends, neighbors, families we had played with on the green and helped with building their new barns. So people who they were very close with, they now didn't talk with at all because they were on different sides of this argument. Celia Warren no longer spoke to me. Her brother Ralph no longer spoke to Walter. Sometimes I heard the words hissed, Tory, like a snake about to bite. The rebels were arming, Brother told me, marching and drilling beyond the meadows. So beyond the meadows. Rebels. Other sides we have Tories, rebels. I'll never forget the day they came. The sun was hot on the mill pond, and Walter, Hattie, and I watched the dragonflies peel their skins on the long grass and fly away. Something like smoke rose over the road, and out of it Papa came running. Get your mother! Hide in the woods! The rebels are coming! That sounds kind of scary. Like you're just leisurely hanging out on your lawn on a hot day and your dad comes out panicked. Run! Hide! You're a kid. That's pretty freaky. Your dad's scared. That's very scary. We ran to the house. Mama's face like a white handkerchief. She shoved a piece of pork pie in our hands and ran us out to the thick woods where we could hide. Crouched in the underbrush, I felt like a trapped animal. And suddenly I was so mad I could not still myself. Sounds like she's getting a little sassy. I raced for the house. Mama's fierce whisper trying to call me back. I would not let John Warren and Reuben Otis hurt our house and things. It was not right. It was not just. It was just not fair. So she's spunky and stubborn. She's like, I'm not putting up with this. Better back off my house. Inside our parlor, I touched each thing I loved. Mama's pineapple teapot, the silver tray, shining like a moon, and pictures of our kin all over the house. Kin is another word for family. Then I heard voices by the door. Reuben Otis, John Warren, Harold Smith, and others who were not our neighbors. This'll be fine pickings. They paused on the front doorstep. One of them ripped the knocker off the door. So they're coming in to steal things from their house. I want you to put yourself in that place. You're in the forest. You're watching. People are coming to rip off your house. Uh-oh. You run inside. You're now inside your house. People are coming to steal things. Robbers. You're inside. Uh-oh. I ran into Mama and Papa's room, looking for a place to hide. If they could steal, they could hurt as well. There was Mama's wedding trunk, big and black and domed. I pulled up the trunk lid and hid under the trees. In the shut-down darkness, everything was muffled and far away. The door slamming, their footsteps next door in the parlor. So she can hear things getting closer and closer, and she's hidden. Can't exactly escape. English goods, someone spat, and something hit the floor and broke. My breath stuck in my throat. Those things that are breaking are the things that belong to their family. My breath stuck in my throat. Someone cursed. I heard Reuben say, Mr. Gray has money here. Look hard for it. Remember, this kid, Reuben, used to be their friend. These are friends and neighbors who have now turned against them. John Warren spoke of arms they would buy. The air closed around my throat like a black cloth. So she's hiding in this trunk right here that they're now looking in. I bit my hand and prayed. But I was never much good at that. I thought my words might go up to God like bubbles in a pond, to the silver top where they would burst. Please, God, don't let them find me. Please, God, don't let them hurt us. Please let me breathe. The footsteps came closer. Someone leaned against the trunk. My breath got caught somewhere in the midst of my stomach and my chest, and I couldn't get it back. There wasn't enough air. John Warren said, Fine dresses and silver here. He pulled up the lid, and the sweet air rushed in. I sucked in a breath as a dress was snatched out. The rustlings drowned their words out. Then another dress. So she's laying under these dresses, and she's feeling them getting pulled off of her. Another dress went, and a hand touched me. I wanted to bite it, to make him jump and shout, but I stilled myself. Maybe he didn't know. Suddenly he shouted, Out! The Tories are coming! Back to the road! Hurry! He did not close the lid, and footsteps sounded out the door. Do you guys think he knew she was there? Maybe he's helping her? Or maybe it was just coincidence? Sudden quiet. My heart beat loud and the horses galloped down the road. Quiet as quiet, I crept to the window and looked out. No one. Puffs of smoke far down on the green. A horse thudding past, riderless. Someone's hat blowing in the gusty wind. Would I ever play with Celia again? So now she's kind of thinking, would I wear this name, Tori, as if it were written on my chest? So they're using Tori as kind of like a bad word, like you're a bad person if you're a Tory. Oh, those Tories. I sat down, hugged my knees, and began to cry. Walter ran inside and hugged me so tight my nose stuck to his shirt. Mama, Papa, and Hattie came next, white as the moon and as silent. Only Mama scolded, "Katie, leaving us that way." Her voice broke, and she sat beside me and stroked my hair. Papa looked out the window. "It's not bad, dear ones, just a skirmish. No one's hurt that I can see." Walter's mouth snapped open and then shut again. I wiped my eyes on my sleeve. A sudden thread like a song ran through my head. When Mama asked me to sew straight seams to get the goodness straight, I knew I couldn't do it. But John Warren had. When I hid in the black stuffy trunk, when my breath got lost in Mama's dresses, he left the trunk lid up to let me breathe, and he called the others away. So she's thinking that John Warren definitely knew she was there and that he called everyone away to help her. So even they're kind of enemies now, he still did the right thing for her. He'd left one seam of goodness there, and we were all tied to it. Mama, Papa, Walter, Hattie, and me, so her whole family. So when we're looking at different parts of the colonial America, be thinking about, oh, was it the same for everyone? Like we say, oh, this was the wrong thing to do, or this was the right thing to do, or there are a lot of different opinions. And from her perspective, the best thing was to serve the King of England and to follow the King of England. So that's what she was doing. It still gives us factual information about how this time period played out, what it looked like, what it maybe felt like. So a different perspective and a different source, all talking about the same thing, which is colonial America. So in lesson 2, you guys looked at a fact, question, response chart. Be thinking about things like that. What are the facts that you know? Okay, I know that they were Tories. They're loyal to the king. I know that their neighbors turned against them. What questions do you have? What would I do if someone turned against me? What would I do if I were in the trunk? What would I do if people were coming to my house to take my things? Would I be brave like Katie? Maybe you don't think it was brave. Maybe you think it was reckless because she could have got hurt. And then your response, how would you feel about that? What would you do different? Maybe you wouldn't do anything, but how would it feel? Grab your next step. In your Colonial American notebook, it's going to look like this. Let's make sure we can actually see it. So notice here, this side, this is where you scroll through on the side to get to the one you want. You are going to slide 4, which is lesson 4. It's going to look like this. So here's your task today. On your slide, which looks like this, you are selecting a fact from above. So read these 3 guys. I'm not reading them to you because I want you to read them. You are selecting a fact from here. You're moving it into it. You can drag it. If you can't drag it, type it in, but you should be able to drag it. Think of a question that you have about the fact you chose. Put your question here. So this is that fact, that question, and then on the bottom, here's your response. So what do you think the answer to the question is? Share your thoughts. Use facts from above. The evidence is right there. Look for it. Part of it is your response. So it's part of your opinion, but your opinions are based on evidence and facts. So as you do your reading today, and as you fill this out, be thinking about the fact that there are lots of different ways to get information about the same thing. And it's important for us to be evaluating those perspectives. It's not all right and wrong. It's not all black and white. This is when you use your critical thinking to go, develop an opinion, think it through. Okay, these are the facts, and the facts might be different than my response, and knowing that difference. So happy reading today. Go ahead and get your journal done. Make sure you do your 15 minutes of reading and have a great day. Thank you.